Good morning, guys. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the handout, the Getting at Complexity of Text. Just keep in mind at all times when we're reading the Crucible, uh, what I'm trying to do is build your close reading skills just because you really do need some practice peeling layers back. And I got this particular activity from an AP training a couple of years ago. And I really like it because what it does is it pulls out these four big ideas: the irony, paradox, tension, and ambiguity. And these four big ideas, they work across all genres, across um, any text we would ever read, nonfiction, fiction, drama, poetry, anything like that. They do work to create these complex layers that lead to meaning, and that very meaning that we're working to analyze in the course. So what I've done is I've gone back to the beginning, and I started sort of exploring right here when Paris is confronting Abigail with, excuse me, um, what happened in the forest. What have you done to Betty? What kind of witchy thing is going on here? And we also get this kind of background information too, going on with Abigail, that Abigail isn't as pure as she seems. And we can immediately begin to see that something happened at the Proctor house here, even before we meet Proctor, and it is confirmed in our minds that Proctor and Abigail have actually had an affair. So I pulled in, kind of narrowed in on this idea of truth here. He says, I hope you feel the weight of truth. My ministry's at stake. uh, Whatever abomination have you done? He goes on to say that he's fought 3 long years to bend these stiff necked people, to get some good respect rising. And now she's compromising his character, his name in the town. And then he also starts in on her name in the town. So there's a lot going on here with the idea of truth. What is truth? The idea of who someone is. Paris, you would expect, because he's a minister of God, to not say things like, talk about his parish in this way, that they're stiff-necked people, that they need to be bent to him. He's not even talking about God at this point. He certainly is revealing to us in these words that he is a power monger, that there's something about that power over the town that's really important to him. And then, of course, the big idea of truth immediately is coming into play. And what is this play about but truth, or how people hide it or hide from it? Okay. So um, that passage, I kind of went through several little moments between Paris and Abigail from paragraph 54 to 63. My summary is, this is the beginning of the play when Paris is speaking with Abigail about what has happened in the forest. Betty will not wake. Paris is worried that he will lose the people of the town over the shame of what he saw in the forest, what he thinks has caused the sickness. He also suggests that Abigail isn't as pure, not purse, sorry, as she seems. Now, I definitely felt like ironies going on here, because there's some talk about truth. Then he talks about these stiff-necked people. So, it there's a whole lot that doesn't feel like truth in this moment. And of course, that creates tension. There's all kinds of tension here, right? Betty's asleep and won't wake up. We have the knowledge that something happened in the forest that was a little witchy. We don't know what it is, but somebody was dancing, they were all singing songs. It's just, there's a whole lot in that scene in and of itself, just for anybody that would be like, well, that's weird. And then the tension is just kind of following from that. Paris is obviously not the good minister that in our minds we imagine when we think of it as a minister. There's something more sinister about him. And then there's the ambiguity in the idea of what truth really is. And so that's why I picked all those. I didn't see anything really paradoxical, but I guess you could say that the idea that he's talking about the weight of truth, but yet in the very next thing he says, he reveals that maybe he's not a true minister, maybe he's a false minister. So then, here, when you're writing, when I say very best prose, I don't want that to scare you into thinking that there has to be some perfect answer. This is a chance for you to kind of practice these skills, just practice building this muscle. And I just want it to be written in a passage, not like a bulleted list. So here in the beginning, Miller is already laying the groundwork for an exploration of what truth really is. Paris says, I pray you feel the weight of truth upon you, to Abigail. But as the audience is aware, truth is the very thing that is being distorted in this town. The weight of truth becomes something more sinister, more scary. The seeds of fear that exist in this town exist because of superstition, neighbor against neighbor, land rights, and more. Miller seems to be pointing out here that truth itself does not exist when we rely merely on a human being to speak it. Paris further develops as a more devious, less devout man. I have fought here these 3 long years to bend these stiff-necked people to me. His desire for power, Abigail's true nature, the witchy scene in the forest, they all combine together to create a tensely built moment that examines the ambiguous nature of truth in this town, more afraid of a dark forest and their own inner failings as human beings, their own inner abilities to be the very evil they fear. So this is kind of, and this, I mean, all of this kind of took me less than 10 minutes, and then adding in talking to you about it. So, I don't want this to take you hours and hours and hours of your time. If it is taking you hours and hours and hours, uh, reach out to me, because that is not the point of this assignment. The point of this assignment is to get your mind to become more and more adept at peeling layers and to have some tools to hold on to, because as I, read through some of your responses to text, when it's not in that college board form, sometimes I think you're kind of flailing about looking for something to hold on to. And that's when I worry you go outside of yourselves and you start to go to Sparks Notes or summaries on the internet or things other people have written to say what you have to say. But really, what I want you doing is learning that there are tools, there are things to pick up on that you can then begin to think about that will help you get at the complex meaning in a text. So I'm trying to give you tools to become more and more aware of your own reading and your own thinking. So I do hope this helps. You guys just are such an intelligent group of people. You are a pleasure to teach, and I'm sorry that I didn't have an example and a video all ready to go. I created this unit towards the beginning of the semester, and I guess I kind of thought everything for this week was tight. But I realized that I left this part out, and it definitely probably would have helped more for me to give you a little bit of advice before sending you off to do this, because I am trying to mitigate how long it takes things to get done with some, here's a way to approach it from a simple, less overwhelmed kind of attitude. Okay, so anyway, still, if this doesn't help, if it causes more questions, let me know. Thanks.